Hey folks, Labruski here. Today I wanted to come on and talk about some DC Comics. These are comics that I believe are new reader friendly, that are a great jumping on point for the DC Universe. Let's say you've only seen the movies and are interested in reading some of the DC Comics, or maybe you're just interested in reading DC Comics but haven't seen any of the movies. Well, that's great. These are comics, like I said, that I think are great jumping on points. And before we kind of dive into some of the picks that I have, there is one book I want to talk about, kind of get out of the way, if you will. This is a book that I read that I personally don't love. It just did not do it for me, if you will. And you may be saying, Labruski, why in God's name are you recommending a book that you do not like? Well, I can understand why people love the book, and I can respect it, and I do believe it is a great starting point for the DC Universe. This is a great introduction to a lot of the main characters, specifically Green Lantern. And, if you watch any other video like this book will definitely be mentioned. So that book is New Frontier by Darwin Cook. I read this book. I've only read it once. Like I said, I understand why it's so popular and why so many people love this book. The artwork is fantastic. But for myself, it just did not do it. I'm not sure how else to kind of put it other than at the end of the day, I don't know if I would go back and read this book. And for myself, when it comes to comics, if I picture a book and I say, I don't want to read that again, then it's not a favorite of mine. This book, definitely check it out. It's kind of an origin story for all the characters, not all of them, but like I said, kind of the main cast and crew. And it kind of puts in real world events, specifically like the Red Scare. I remember that being a huge thing in this book, which is interesting. I like history. But for me, I thought the book was a bit slow. And maybe I'll go back and read it eventually and give it kind of another shot. But I'm just not in no hurry to do so. So, but, read it for yourself. Read it digitally. See if you like it. And then if you like it, buy the deluxe. They also have an absolute of this, which I'm sure is gorgeous. Like I said, the artwork by Darwin Cook is fabulous. So if you really love the story, then get the absolute. Okay, next recommendation I have here is an Elseworlds story. For those of you who do not know, Elseworlds is just anything outside of the main continuity. It's just kind of a retelling of the character in kind of a different time period a lot of the times. And, they're interesting. But this is Superman Red Sun. Now, this is really the book that ignited my love for comics. And it's funny, I have not reread this one. I do want to go back and reread it because I do love the story. But it was like kind of my gateway drug into comics. Once I read this, I'm like, oh my God, I need to read more books. And those books didn't even include Superman. I was not really interested in reading more Superman. But this book is a great example of what comics can do. And I think it's great. So Superman Red Sun. All right, the next one we have is one that is a story about a character that is not a flagship character. It's a lesser known, but it is fantastic storytelling. It introduces you to a certain aspect of the DC Universe, dark side and that kind of world. And that book is Mr. Miracle by Tom King. And, this character is definitely out of this world type of character. He's not very grounded, but the story itself is super grounded, and it's such a human story for a character that is so out there, and it's just fantastic, and it has beautiful 9-panel grids throughout the story, which I really appreciate. And yeah, it's just a great freaking story. I believe this is coming out in an absolute format, which it totally deserves. So check this one out, Mr. Miracle by Tom King. The next book I want to recommend is another Superman book. This is Superman Secret Origin by Jeff Johns. This book is somewhat of a retelling of the origin of Superman, and it kind of throws in some aspects of the character that we have not seen before. It focuses a lot on his childhood, which I think is awesome. I feel like that's a part of Superman that we don't really see a whole lot, and I think obviously because, in a lot of ways that's kind of the less exciting part of Superman. We want to see Superman all grown up and all buff and beefy and flying around Metropolis, which you do get to see in this, don't get me wrong. But I think it's an interesting take on the origin of Superman, and I definitely recommend it. It's the Superman in this is modeled after Christopher Reeves, which I think is awesome. He definitely looks like Superman, so I love it. So check it out, Superman Secret Origin. Like I said, it's phenomenal. I mean, this will get you caught up to speed if you don't know Superman's origin. My next book that I want to talk about is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, also by Tom King. Tom King writes a lot of great stuff. So if you see his name on a book that you're curious about, chances are it's going to be good. At least in my opinion. There's some people out there that may disagree with that. I think Tom King is always a pretty solid writer. This is my favorite piece of work that I've read by him. This book is actually going to be the inspiration for the upcoming Supergirl movie in James Gunn's new DC universe. And yeah, this is kind of like a sci-fi space opera story that involves Supergirl. It's super interesting. The world's super awesome. Supergirl is a character that I've never really read anything with her in it. I don't really know much about the character until I read this book, and she was not kind of what I expected. Like she's a kind of a drunk in this book. She's fallen on hard times, and the story kind of delves into why she is kind of the way she is. She's just an awesome character, and I'm super excited about that Supergirl movie, especially if this is the inspiration. I won't spoil any of the story. Just go into it blind, and trust me, it's one of my favorite DC books. Okay, the final book I'm going to talk about is not only my favorite Batman book, it's also my favorite DC book. And I think it's great for new readers, especially if you want to get into Batman. It does explore some of the other DC characters a little bit. And that is Batman Hush. This book is fantastic. It's written by Jeff Loeb, drawn by Jim Lee. I also own the absolute version of it, which is amazing. The artwork blown up is just beautiful. It's this, it's a detective story, right? Which you'd expect from a Batman comic. And this new villain, Hush, starts to make Batman's life essentially miserable. And it's indicated that this villain also found out about his secret identity, Bruce Wayne. And this villain just sets out to make Bruce Wayne's and Batman's life just miserable. And each issue introduces a villain into this story, an already established villain like Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Joker, and a few others that I won't spoil. And the way it all kind of ties in together is incredible. I don't want to give too much away, more than I already have. But please read it. Batman Hush. I will also give away this copy of Batman Hush. Just leave a comment, subscribe, like, share, and I will choose someone to win this copy. That's how passionate I am about this book, that I want somebody else to enjoy it who maybe has not read it. All right, folks, that is all I have today. I hope you liked the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you think I missed out on any recommendations that you think are good for new readers, please leave them in the comment below. There's a good chance I have not read that book, and I would be interested in reading that book. So please let me know. And yeah, that's all I got.